So Bitmine absolutely crashed, and you know who crashed Bitmine? The Bitmine company itself. It was part of an announcement that they did on Monday after the market closed, as well as the chairman video. But why this is maybe the biggest opportunity to have a 4x this year, all about in this video. Make sure to subscribe and like for all this kind of videos, and let's dive in.
Welcome to the game, I'm the wolf of Dubai.
So, first of all, I believe that Bitmine, BMNR is the ticker, will be one of the best performing stocks out there, okay? It has a couple of interesting, let's say, properties that could be the next Nvidia, could be the next GameStop, could be the next Tesla, or a mixture of it all. I talked about in previous videos with the great investors that are already on board. Katie Woods, Tom Lee, who has a huge presence on CNBC, you know, huge Wall Street bull. Then Katie Wood that has an army of retail investors that copy every single trade that she's doing as well. Then you have Peter Thiel, maybe one of the most intelligent and biggest investor that was ever lived and most successful exactly in this kind of field of crypto. He founded PayPal, he was early on Facebook, he has his founders fund. And then last but not least, my colleague here on YouTube, Chicken Singapore, who's an excellent investor as well. So you have this great kind of guys who invest already into this company. Then you have the great effect of net asset value, okay? So they're building up Ethereum and they will have more Ethereum that the company is worth, okay, with time. Plus, it makes also income, which is different than, for example, Bitcoin and what Michael Saylor is doing with Microstrategies, right? So you have these opportunities, and now, you know, just as I start to talk about it, it absolutely crashed, okay? Minus 10% on Monday. After hours, it went down another 15%. So about like 30% down from the recent highs. And I believe that this might be the biggest opportunity. And number one, let's talk about the crash itself. The crash itself happened because they announced that they will issue more shares to buy more Ethereum. That means something like Tesla will raise more money to build more robots, or Nvidia will raise money to buy more chips. So this is this kind of announcements, and this were the kind of announcement that Tesla, for example, did in the past. They issued new shares to build factories and so on and so forth. So this is normal. This is just confirming their mission. Obviously, it comes with a little bit of dilution and it's always a negative effect. But I think now, after the recent drop below 40, I think we are quite in an interesting space. A second thing that happened also on Monday was the chairman video. Tom Lee decided that he will make a monthly update on Ethereum, on the company. I love that, okay? This is the dream of every retail investor, information. You know, when we as retail investors, YouTubers look for information about the company to talk about it, it's always hard sometimes to research. We put a lot of effort into that. But if a chairman or a CEO comes regular out like Elon Musk, like Juan Jensen from Nvidia, and they talk about the company, and you can take those information, just confirm or reject your bias. This is brilliant, guys. And I love the approach of Tom Lee. Not only he has a huge following on Twitter, on X, he's on CNBC, he talks about the company. You have people following him for a very, very long time. He's very successful in predicting the prices of Bitcoin, of crypto, of, you know, other bull runs. He was the only analyst that got totally right the S&P 500 goal for last year. While everybody was bearish, he was bullish, and we had another great result, okay? And I want to, in the second part of the video, in just a couple of seconds, I will go with you into the video and get all the single pieces and explain in a very simple form what this means if you are or if you consider to become Bitmine investor. And you should, if you just want to have the short shortcut, start to buy now a little bit. Add monthly to this company. This company will be, if the rates going down, if this will be actually decided this Wednesday, so I'm recording this video on Tuesday, so on Wednesday we will have the Fed decision. If rates come down, risk assets go up. This means that Ethereum goes up. This means that the value of Bitmine goes up as well. And I think that this is now a great opportunity not to make quick 10-20%. It's about making 100, 200, 300% in buying a stock, okay? That will be worth more and more over time just because they having a huge mission to build one of the biggest treasury company in the world, okay? But before we jumping in, I just want to make sure that you check out my own product. I don't advertise any other things here on this channel. Make sure to check out my own product because we built the best software out there. You can be part of our group if you have $10,000 or more and you would like to us trade for you. We trade US stock market options. The money stays in your broker account. We work with the biggest broker account in the world, Interactive Brokers. You have to have a call with us to see if we can help you as well. And if you join then we trade for you. We day trade, we buy things on the move, and we have extremely great results over the last 3 years. This is interesting for you if you want to trade while you have your 9 to 5 or you don't have time to trade or you just want to get a second income or even quit your job at some point. This is for you. Check it out, xnddaytrading.com. And now let's dive into Tom Lee's chairman video that will be a very interesting thing on monthly basis. Okay, so I will play this video in 1.5 speed so we save a little bit of time. I will comment it and react to it and tell you what is the important pieces of the whole puzzle so you get a full idea. Okay, so let's dive first into his explanation why he do this video in the first place.
Hi there, my name is Tom Lee. I'm the newly appointed chairman of Bitmine, ticker BMNR. And I want to welcome you to the launch of a monthly video series called The Chairman's Message. The purpose of this chairman's message is to keep you abreast of all the updates of Bitmine as it builds the world's premier treasury strategy and what we call the alchemy of 5% once we reach 5% share of all Ethereum tokens. There's some disclaimers I want to highlight, safe harbor and risks. But let's start with the exponential growth story of Bitmine itself. It begins after July 8th when the $250 million private placement was closed, and that's when I joined as chairman. And just 18 days later, Bitmine holds over $2.7 billion worth of Ethereum in cash. Now, this effort to reach 5% of Ethereum is not being done alone. We have many investment partners. This investment was led by Mosaics, but there's many others on here, including Founders Fund, Pantera, Kraken, Galaxy Digital.
Founders Fund is, by the way, Peter Thiel, right?
Now, to walk you through the story, let me start with talking about why Ethereum is potentially the most important macro trade for the next decade. When we announced this Ethereum treasury strategy, we wanted to become the Microstrategy of Ethereum because we believed Ethereum is going to start to see its key macro moment, and that all has to do with stablecoins. Stablecoins are the ChatGPT moment for crypto because we've seen widespread adoption of stablecoins by consumers, corporates, and banks. And as you can see from these various headlines, JP Morgan wants to create a stablecoin. Goldman and BMNR want to tokenize money market funds. Walmart and Amazon are looking at issuing their own stablecoins, and Robinhood wants to tokenize a lot of private companies. In addition, there has been a lot of effort mobilized because of the Genius Act, which is setting the stage for a stablecoin boom. This is legislation signed by President Trump earlier this year. Treasury Secretary Bessent thinks stablecoins could become a $4 trillion market. That's more than 10 times bigger than it is today, and that would represent exponential growth in demand for Ethereum. Ethereum, if you're not familiar with it, is a layer 1 blockchain, but what distinguishes it from Bitcoin...
So before we diving into Ethereum here, I think it's very important that he is a very, very good analyst of macro events and how this will impact which asset at which point. So you can see here that he's actually really diving into those, and he has a whole team that analyzing this for him as well, right? So it's not only Tom Lee, it's whole Fundstrat, his company, that is actually looking into those things. So as you can see, he's really thinking long-term over the next 10 days, yeah. Long-term, 10 days, 10 years, where you are thinking that Ethereum will make a 10x move, and obviously this brings the company to a 10x in value, which would bring the company just at the asset value of Ethereum to, $300 stock. But remember that in bull markets, everything goes crazy, okay? So maybe we see $1,000 Bitmine stock, and, that's absolutely possible. So let's see what he's talking about in Ethereum more.
In fact, Ethereum is the largest smart contract platform by a sizable magnitude, and today is a legally recognized blockchain compliant with US laws. And in fact, the majority of these real world assets, whether it's stablecoins or other tokens, are actually being created on Ethereum. They have more than a 60% share. So again, growth in stablecoins is a boom for Ethereum. And believe it or not, Ethereum has what they call an inflation rate, or the rate of growth of tokens below that of Bitcoin. Now, the second part of all this is we believe the Ethereum treasury companies like Bitmine are superior to holding Ethereum itself because we are increasing the Ethereum held per share. And again, Ethereum ETFs do not do that. And more importantly, Ethereum treasury companies are essentially crypto infrastructure businesses. Let me explain. We can increase your Ethereum held per share because a company can issue stock at a premium to the dollar value held of Ethereum per share. That means you are growing the company's overall holdings of Ethereum. Number two, you can issue convertible bonds or warrants, which take advantage of the inherent volatility of not only the stock, but the underlying volatility of Ethereum. Take a look at this chart. You can see Ethereum has more than 2 times the volatility of Bitcoin, meaning Ethereum treasury companies can actually get really attractive financing for convertible bonds. And in fact, if you look at options pricing, just even 18 months out, Ethereum options have 33% greater implied volatility. Again, that lowers the cost for a company like Bitmine if they issue convertible bonds. Number three, the operations of Bitmine itself can actually be used to buy more Ethereum. And interestingly, Ethereum generates a staking yield, and those rewards can be used to buy more Ethereum. And finally, there are other crypto treasury companies out there that hold Ethereum, and if they trade at close to net asset value, Bitmine could use its stock to acquire another company.
Yeah, so here's a couple of important points, okay? Bitmine could buy other Ethereum treasury companies, okay? That's number one. Second, the stock can always trade to a premium to the net asset value, so how much Ethereum they actually hold. So let's say they have a worth of $1 billion worth of Ethereum, and the stock is trading, you know, at, let's say, 2 billion worth. So what they would do, they would issue the stock that they did, because Tom will talk about this in this video, about how much actually net asset value they have, what that means in representative things. And this means also a price target for you to purchase and to throw your, like, sell your house and throw everything into Bitmine when it reach this price. We will talk about it in a second, okay?
Now you might say to yourself, I don't think something holding a commodity like Ethereum should trade at any multiple to its holdings. Well, there's a lot of precedent for this. And I want to highlight ExxonMobil, because ExxonMobil from 1990 to 2018 was the top 5 largest company in the S&P 500. But here's what's interesting. It was never valued on earnings. It was always valued as a multiple of its proven reserves. And as you can see, you could have spent your entire career, graduated college, worked on Wall Street starting in 1990. And then when you retired in 2018, Exxon was still a top 5 stock. Why should that be any different today for crypto, especially given that we are seeing Wall Street financialize the entire financial system onto the blockchain? I think a lot of companies are going to be increasingly valued on the value of their crypto holdings. And more importantly, or equally important, I think crypto companies are actually infrastructure businesses. One, Ethereum is a proof of stake blockchain. So the Ethereum treasury companies are securing the Ethereum network by staking their holdings. Number two, Ethereum generates a staking yield. That's GAAP revenues for Ethereum treasury companies. So there's native revenues actually being generated by your holdings. Number three, staking secures the Ethereum network. That means the function of that is cybersecurity or network security. That's a business function that is part of supporting the Ethereum infrastructure. Keep that in mind. And number four, over time, stablecoin issuers and those tokenizing real-world assets, they're going to want to stake ETH because they want to ensure that the layer 1 blockchain is healthy. That means we believe over time, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan are going to become large Ethereum holders, and Bitmine is getting ahead of that, and especially by trying to acquire 5% of the Ethereum supply.
So first of all, I think that part was not so, it was like a more advertising part for Ethereum and why Ethereum will be so big. I think the most important part here is that they are planning to always sell some shares. So Bitmine will stay forever very volatile, because something like it happened in the beginning of this week will always happen. They will issue more stocks, and then they will actually buy more Ethereum. And as higher the premium is of the stock, okay, we will see how much premium it actually currently is, and then they will issue stock to buy Ethereum. So that means that actually what they do, it's like holding Ethereum is now 3,800. Because they are trading at a premium, it's like they have a lot of Ethereum for 5,000. They're selling it in form of stock to buy Ethereum for 3,800. So it's like a genius way to improve. And then Ethereum, as he said, is very volatile. So it can be also 2,500. And then they have so much cash to buy, you know, 300 million worth of Ethereum again, right? So for much lower basis. And then they reduce their cost averaging. And, you know, this is the beauty about it. And if Tom Lee and Peter Thiel are in this company, then you can be pretty sure sure that, you know, they doing a very good job into that. But let's dive now into maybe one of the most juiciest part of this video.
I got a case study for you. Microstrategy, okay, saw its stock soar from $13 to $408 from the time it started its Ethereum Bitcoin treasury strategy in August 2020. So just 5 years later, we saw a tremendous gain of 30 times return. The question is, how much of this return was generated by the rise in Bitcoin versus its treasury strategy itself? Well, Bitcoin was 11,000 when they embarked on the strategy, and today Bitcoin's 118,000. So 11 times of that gain came from the Bitcoin price increase. That means 20x of the 30x return, or the vast majority of the return, was due to its treasury strategy. In fact, we've seen this with Ethereum. Ethereum has risen from the time we announced the strategy from 2,400 to 3,800, so 1.5 times increase, which is pretty good. But as you can see, Bitmine, because of its treasury strategy, has actually increased the price by 9.5 times. Okay, well, keep in mind, MicroStrategy achieve that treasury strategy by executing a series of financings that I've listed here, and this is not complete.
So just to, you know, jump on that, so he's really emphasizing they want to do a much better job than MicroStrategy did on Bitcoin because they are going harder. They think that Ethereum has much more potential than Bitcoin right now. And then also they want to make sure that they really copy and paste and improve the concept of Ethereum and what MicroStrategy makes with Bitcoin, right? So they just, it's like a 2.0 version where they look, okay, this is what they did, we do it in a similar and better way, and we learn from that. We see how the market react, and we see even when the net asset grows only 10%, right, then the stock can go up 30%. So 30% from now, let's say $30 would be a $900 stock. Just, you know, imagine the opportunity.
They went from having $240 million of Bitcoin, that was their original purchase, and 6 months later raised $2.7 billion. In 6 months, or 180 days. That's a lot of Bitcoin they raised. But take a look at Bitmine. Bitmine started with $265 million worth of crypto, and just 18 days later has $2.7 billion worth of crypto in cash. That means that Bitmine's achieved in 18 days what MicroStrategy did in 180.
And here's another example, right? So he just emphasizes how trying to do this as fast they go, right?
And again, that's 18 days versus 180 days. And then gets us to the fourth point. Many of you asked us to provide a net asset value of the crypto.
Here, and this is the most important part, okay? So he explained the up-to-date net asset value, and not only he explains it, he says many people ask for it. And this is the beauty about this kind of chairman message, this kind of approach to a retail stock. People want to know the details, not on earnings calls. We want to know a monthly update, which is brilliant in my personal opinion. That's why I love this opportunity so much, okay? He's telling you exactly the worth and assets that they are holding as of this moment, how much this is compared to the stocks that they actually have. And then you have the net asset value, which is in this case, I think $23, okay, $22.84. And this is important because, guys, this is the bottom. Okay, so let's say we're trading now at $30. You have like $8 left, so another, let's say 30%, but then you will trade at net asset value of the company, okay? And the company increasing the net asset value. So maybe at the next update, you will say the stock will be at, let's say $22, right? And you sold your house and the wife in it to buy Bitmine, and then he will come out. Now we have a net asset value of $35 per share. And the stock goes up like, you know, 40% in one day, okay? I'm promising you this will happen. The same moves we have down, you will have up as well.
As of July 27th, the company has 600,000 Ethereum tokens, which is worth $2.3 billion, $23 million worth of Bitcoin, treasury cash unencumbered of $369 million, or a total treasury net asset value of $2.7 billion. And divided by fully diluted shares outstanding, that gets you to a $22.84 NAV, or if we're rounding, $23 net asset value. So that is the NAV of the crypto treasury holdings. Now that's changed a lot because on July 8th, there was only $4 of crypto treasury holdings per share. But in the ensuing 18 days, Bitmine executed a series of transactions to increase it by $19 per share.
Incredible.
$2.4 billion.
Incredible. You see how fast it goes also, okay? 4, 20, 23, 35, 40, 100, and so on and so forth.
Or what we call velocity. And of course, you're going to ask us about the future. What is ahead for us? Well, again, we want to get to 5% of Ethereum's token supply, but we're going to do some things in the middle of that. We want to become a Made in America validator network, 100% compliant, but 100% of our operations geographically in the United States.
Very important as well.
The second is we want to be a community participant in Ethereum and really strengthen the ecosystem, whether that's working with Pudgy Penguins or the Ethereum Foundation or others. We also know that there's going to be opportunities for us to make selective investments that provide strong upside to shareholder returns, but really our focus is on getting 5% of the Ethereum network. And that is the alchemy of 5%. Thank you for listening, and I'll speak to you soon.
All right. Yeah, that's it, guys. I hope that it will help you to make a decision. I think this is one of the most interesting play on the stock market. I make a new video every single day, so make sure to subscribe and like, and check out if you want to really benefit from the best product I ever created. Check out the link into the description. Schedule a call if you have $10,000, and let's get you started. I see you tomorrow, and have the best week that you ever had.